All right. Welcome, everybody, to Enhancing the Accountant Bookkeeper Connection series. Oh, there we are. We've already begun, not shortly. So there is myself, Tanya Hilt, CPB, FCPB, and most recently, CFCC. We've got a few on the call that are working towards that as well. They just have to take the test, and that is Cash Flow Canvas Certified or Coach, whatever. Very, very cool. But we're not here to talk about that today. You can find me at Tanya's Bootcamp. It's the accounting channel. I am not going to go through this, but there is some of my recent awards and accolades. My business coach would give me heck, and I figure I'm meeting in the middle by saying, here they are. People can read them themselves. So now, this is the quote from the last one that we had because I did not get a chance to update it. It did come through to me with enough time to do that, so that is on me. However, we're getting ready to go to a conference. We're leaving right after this call, as a matter of fact. And Sandra and I are going down and we're speaking in Ottawa on AI at accounting, leveling up for bookkeepers, and ATAP, the Accounting of or Association of Tax and Accounting Professionals. They just happen to be in the same city back to back, so it's beautiful and works well. So anyway, so the quote that I felt that is still relevant for today anyways, I can do things you cannot. You can do things I cannot. Together we can do great things. And this actually does really fall in line with what I did see of today's topic. So I hope I'm right on that, but it's all community and a bit the connection. And that was by Mother Teresa. So this webinar does qualify for CPD credits through CPB Canada. It does qualify, should hit all the qualifications as well through CPA Canada, and I don't think the US has to worry so much about this, but it should hit all qualifications. But there are two polls that must both be answered in order to qualify. The recording of the webinar and your CPD credits will be emailed within 7 days, and keep the certificate handy for future. Any requests after 14 days to resend will be subject to administration fee. So please keep that email, throw it somewhere, print it, just do something so that you've got the proof. Because CPA, I believe, and CPB for sure, as of 2026, is self, which is a whole other conversation. So we're not going there, but it is self-attesting, and you need to keep a listing and proof just in case you are asked for versus providing upfront. And I think CPA has been like that for a while, hasn't it, Jonathan?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's always cracks me up because the CPD requirements for CPA aren't that heavy. So it's like I go to look at it, it's like I need 20 hours. And oh, Jesus, I got almost 80 hours or something like that.
Right? That's the same thing. We need 20 for CPB and the same thing. I'm like, I hit 80, whatever. But I will tell you, anybody who is looking to put their name in or be nominated, self-nominate or be nominated, and wants to have a shot, a good shot for the top 50 international, or if you're in the US, the top 100, the pro advisors through Insightful Accountant, there is a point system. Part of that point system is your CPD, your education hours. So again, through there, it's self-attesting, but they do go in and there is a certain percentage that they do come back and ask for. So it is always good to keep these for multiple reasons. All right. If you don't receive this within 7 days, it is very possible you have unsubscribed. If you unsubscribe from one, you unsubscribe from everything. So to resubscribe, I can't add you back in on your own. You need to add yourself back in. You need then to verify and check your spam if you don't get that. If there's any issues with this, reach out. We'll help you get it worked out. And then don't unsubscribe again unless you never want to hear from us from anything, even the good stuff. So we partner with Jonathan Carter for this CATA Accounting Solution. So Jonathan is the founder and principal accountant of CATA Accounting. And we have been collaborating with Jonathan and his team for a number of years. We have multiple mutual clients together. He is our own go-to. He is my accountant, my for the corporation, our go-to for anything as well too. I trust him as not just with my clients, but with my own. We love Jonathan and his team because they pay attention to detail. And, just as a side note, you know, 90% of the strict processes we have in play for our year end comes actually from this collaboration with, Jonathan and myself. And I know, we've had conversations that there's certain things he's done on his end because of our collaboration as well. So at the end of the day, collaborating is extremely important, which ties into today's topic. So, and again, they have outstanding customer service. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Jonathan, you can take it away.
Well, thank you very much. Just gotta figure out where I put my presentation. All right. So as before, if I'm looking up, it's because I'm looking at you lovely people. If I'm looking down, I'm looking at the presentation. Um, so I recognize that not everybody went to CPP Ignite. So by show of hands, who did attend? I know Yui, Sandra, Sherry, Carol, so everyone else did not attend. Okay.
Can I
All right.
just jump in and say how great it was to meet Yui in real life? Yui
Yes.
has been a part of this online community for well over a year. I think maybe just a year is when you started being a little more outspoken, it feels like, but a long time, and it's so nice. So, like anytime that we go, if we've never met in person for any of us, like it's no different. I think as soon as like it was Yui, it was just arms straight open for a hug. So. Anyway, sorry, I just had to jump that in and just say it was so great to finally meet her in person.
Yes. Also really nice for me to meet Karen and
I
Alan
was going to say Karen
the
and
first
Alan
time.
because we did that whole tour thing, which was
Yes.
amazing. Oh my goodness. I still have my chocolates in the fridge. I am savoring them and I am not sharing them with one single person.
And
Just
you know
That's
what?
the right way to do it, Carol.
And I apologize, Karen. I did not mean to leave you out. You have just been a part of the community like we've met so long
Oh,
ago. It
yeah.
feels we have met
We're
multiple
not
times,
new. We're not
right?
new. I
That's
think we actually
exactly it.
have met long, long, long ago at another convention, but
Could have been.
yeah, it's a
But
long time.
it's just been so long that yeah. So
Yeah.
I did not mean to leave you and Ellen out.
Oh,
It's just you've
you
just
know, it's
felt like you've
interesting.
been
I
here
took that as
forever.
read, Tanya. I took that as read. I
Awesome.
thought that was exactly what you meant,
Beautiful,
because
because that is exactly
yeah.
what I meant.
And I mean, it's again with Sherry. I mean, we've literally become
Yes.
friends. So, it's, you know,
Yep.
it's
Important to have community. Absolutely important to have.
yeah, this community is so strong and
Yeah.
so precious to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is why I keep doing it and why I think Jonathan comes in. Jonathan and I get nothing out of this. We get nothing except for just to see all of your lovely faces, but to
Sure we
know
do.
that we're helping to strengthen. Like we don't get money, we don't get credit for anything. There's
Yeah, there's no CPD, but
the
we get
love.
community.
we get community, and that's exactly it. And
That's
that
a
goes to
sweet
exactly
vibe.
what Karen said, that's it. But I want to say that, yeah, we don't get CPD credits. Everybody else gets CPD credits on the call, but Jonathan and I don't. So we literally get you guys. You guys are why we do it, literally. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up now.
Karen, just randomly, I we tried that fish spice the first night back on some nice rainbow trout, and it was wonderful.
Oh, awesome. Was that the Bow River
The
blend?
Bow River fish spice, yeah.
That
So
is
good
specially
because I
made
was
for
afraid
Karen.
to try it.
Say again, Carol?
I was afraid to try it because I'm not up on trying new things that I don't know anything about. So thank you for the feedback, Jonathan. I will try it.
It's lovely. It's not there's nothing really strong about it. It's very savory. And yeah, just lemon, salt, pepper, and that spice. That's all we put on it. And it was very, very
Perfect.
yeah.
Nice.
Well, we can definitely ship you that if you need it because yeah, it's a special blend that Karen had done for
It'll take us a while to get through it. By then I'll
her.
probably be back in Calgary for something.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, enhancing the bookkeeper and accountant relationship. We've been doing this together for a long time. I'm not going to go through this stuff. I think everybody knows me here. The agenda for today, only one of these is my feelings. All the rest of this came from the CATA team. I recognize that not everybody went to CPB Ignite, but I'm sure you've attended other things, virtual conferences, other in-person conferences, business networking events. As we go along, I would be very interested in hearing other ideas. But first, we got to get the CPD. So poll question one, what is your biggest consideration in improving your practice? A, automating as much as possible. B, building strong relationships with your clients. C, leading with curiosity.
It popped up
D,
in the way. Oh, there it is.
ensuring it's a going concern. Or E, building a strong culture. This is 100% subjective. There are no correct answers.
Yeah, and when I bring people in and promote you as a panelist so that we can get interactive, which I know Jonathan prefers, I prefer it as well too. You're always going to see that the very first poll, I have to launch it and then close it and then relaunch to allow panelists to vote. So it's a Zoom thing. All right, Tracy just came in, so I want to make sure Tracy gets her vote in here as well too. So we'll do a countdown: 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, end the poll and share results.
I really like the fact that relationship building was the top response because as you'll see through this, I think that's really what separates us from the computers is the ability to not just have a relationship, but to reinforce that relationship, to make that a very positive two-way street. So,
Well, and even like even us, we've always had strong relationships with our clients because that is my background, right? My background is, insurance and 17 years in that and then 5 years at TELUS while I was growing this. And but it's always been customer service. And that's the one thing that's made like for those who've gone through boot camp, and those who haven't probably just know hearing us talking, that is what makes it different is that we have always done everything because everything I've done is a non-tangible service. And how do you do that? It's all about the relationships with those clients. And you're absolutely right, Jonathan, with AI coming in more, that is what separates us. And that is how we can level up because think about it, people, how loyal are people to their phone companies? They're not. It's like, you're maybe loyal to the brand. You're an Android or you're an iPhone person. You're a, whatever. But how loyal are you to your small town insurance broker or the person who handles your RSPs if it's not your bank and you have a relationship with them or your life insurance? Ones that you are more likely to have a relationship with that person instead of a call center, you are less likely to just turn and change for money. You value that relationship more.
relationships are stickier.
Yep.
So this first idea was an interesting one. It came up, and a lot of people did not like hearing this right off the bat because of the feelings surrounding AI. But really, so this came from Christina. Christina she does all of our marketing tactics. It's all of our posting, updating our blogs, our website. She also does a lot of our admin work, and I'm hoping to advance her into a bit of a higher level role in the future once I can find somebody to be her assistant and take over some of her duties. So her biggest takeaway was to master her role and required skills, learn how to apply automation to that role, and in other words, get stuff off of her plate so she can prepare and tackle the next challenge. So for her, the next challenge will be project management, which she's already doing at a surface level, but I think like that's where her training is in engineering and project management. I think that she could really be really good at that role. I don't know if I've done a great job of explaining this, but essentially the idea is to do only what you have to do and create the tools to be able to hand off your role to the next person. That could be through checklists, workflows, policies, manuals, various things. Um, was this anybody's takeaway from CPB or has anybody heard of this idea before?
I've heard of it. It's and it's funny when you look at it. I do this for a planning. I don't necessarily hand off everything and move on. You can still keep those relationships. There are some clients that I don't speak to as often, but it doesn't mean that I don't want to or that we still, I'm not going to pick up the phone. This is done so that if something happens to you, your clients are taken care of. Your business is taken care of.
And that's absolutely going to feed into one of the future slides. This was from Miranda. She's having some challenges with clients who are the typical non-responsive. Oh, I paid that. Well, that's no help at all to tell us that you paid that. We need to know how, we need to know the amount, we need to know the date, right? Like those kind of things. So this was her biggest takeaway is to assume that you both want to accomplish the same thing, to lead with curiosity and education, and educating the clients about why their bookkeeping matters. I mean, we've got one guy he's facing down a scary amount of debt, did not pay source deductions. We all know what can happen from that. And he's giving us those kind of crappy answers. It's like, already sent that, those kind of things that are can be challenging. And then help educate your clients about the benefits of having real-time books or the consequences of not having real-time books, and to really educate about the value you provide, the things that you do behind the scenes that they feel like, okay, it's just done. It's handled. I don't have to worry about it. That will really help make the relationship stickier. Co-creating processes with them, getting ideas from your peers. As Tanya said at the beginning, I mean, a lot of our processes very much mirror each other. I've learned a lot from Tanya, and I know she's learned from me, and that's really, really helped both of our businesses. When it comes to the client side, by co-creating, by using that collaboration, you get buy-in right away, right? I'll get to the quote. I have a good quote at the end from Ben Franklin, but really, I mean, if they're not involved, if you're dictating, telling them what to do, the buy-in isn't going to be as strong as if you work together to develop those processes. Build a rapport with everyone you work with. So one of our team, she's very businesslike, very matter of fact, and she found that we just like some a little bit of coaching. She found that by asking some personal questions like, "Hey, how was the weekend? Did you go to the cottage? Did you catch any fish? How was your kid's birthday party?" Those kind of things, it builds a rapport and it makes people trust and like you more. And nobody likes talking about any subject more than talking about themselves. So asking people questions about themselves is very important to building that rapport and building that relationship and then getting that buy-in. Also, everyone has a bad day. Try to be empathetic. That could be somebody who promised to, like a client who promised to deliver something by X date or something like that, and they didn't get it done, or who, had to cancel a meeting last minute or no showed, even worse. Try not to assume that they're dodging you or they're ghosting you. Try to assume the positive intent and try to be empathetic about it. It can be very, very, very trying, especially when somebody is very non-responsive. Lead with curiosity. I'm sure people have heard about that from the likes of Brene Brown or Simon Sinek. Assuming positive intent is something that we forget about sometimes, right? Like we think that, oh, they just want to avoid all their responsibility. They're just going to throw it on us. It can create fear in ourselves. Oh, they're going to sue us when everything goes sideways, but it's not our fault because they're not communicating. And it can create passive aggressive behavior, like sending emails, bombarding somebody with emails. Sometimes a phone call is a better way to go. If you can get somebody on video, even better. Did anybody get this as a big takeaway from the event? Any questions about this? Moving on. So this was Julia's biggest takeaway, and this is something that, for those who don't know, we do have another baby coming, and actually a little bit of big news. The birth date has been moved up to December 24th. So we're having a Christmas Eve baby. But now we need to make sure that everybody's taken care of, right? It's really urgent now. I've lost 10 days that I thought I'd have, some holidays, a little bit to work on the business, but no, we'll get there. So ensure your team will need jobs. Your clients are going to need services, even after your exit or in your absence. In my case, going on pat leave. So be sure you're prepared by having a succession plan. That is something that I'm actively working on. Kelly Park's presentation at CPB was excellent about that. Empower your team with policies, manuals, and workflows. And you know what, actually? What we're doing right now is the team is leading on all of these things. So one of we did a 3-day retreat prior to the beginning of CPB Ignite. And one of those sessions was mapping out what we need to do, those holes we need to plug, what policies are missing, what manuals, what workflows, and the team is taking the lead on these. So it's not all on my head, which is huge. It also creates more collaborative problem solving amongst our team and amongst that culture. And there's nothing that makes me happier. There was one of my ray of sunshine moments was I came down one morning after getting James ready for the day, and there's one of our CPA student who has started into bookkeeping very, very recently, working with two of our more experienced bookkeepers and learning about the Keeper tool and some of the stuff he didn't realize it could do. I love seeing that collaborative problem solving. I have no issue when people want to co-work as long as both people are working. There's nothing that wastes time more or wastes resources more than one person watching another person work. And as we all know, this is a learn by doing thing. So if you're sitting there as a student watching a senior work, that's not the appropriate flow. It needs to be you doing the work. The senior can work on their own, like shallow work, and just kind of guide you along when you run into problems. Another thing that's important is ensuring your clients know where to find their information and know what to do with it, right? So this could be everything from a tax return to reconciliation reports to trial balances. We don't know what they're going to need. They don't know what they're going to need, but we need to help coach them and understand where to find that information should something happen, should you have an unplanned absence or something like that. Now, this was at a Kelly session. Her major thing was to review and update every year, uh, every, every year or every time there's a major change to the business. And that major change could be hiring somebody new, reassigning duties, things along those lines. So just a quick show of hands, who actually has a fully mapped out succession plan? Kind of what I figured. I see Jennifer going like this.
Well, we know that Amber's going to take over. I'm not sure it's like fully planned. It's in my will that she gets the company, but yeah,
Yeah,
I don't think it's
it's a
fully
good
planned.
start. She knows where to find all the information she needs, passwords, login, like other login credentials, all that stuff.
Yeah, actually it's the other way around. If she got hit by a bus, I probably wouldn't know where to find all the passwords and everything. But yeah, we are working
Are you
on
using some
that for
kind of
sure.
tool for that?
I'm sorry.
Are you using a password tool?
No, we're using a notebook.
At
Her
least you
little
have
notebook
somewhere where
for
you
her.
know how to look and you don't need a password to get into it.
No, I don't need a password to get into the notebook. I just need to know where she put it. So I think I
Yeah.
know. But yeah, we would be able to, yeah, do it.
I
Um,
I was gonna say I don't think CPB has anything coming up on this, but I know CPA, the rumor is that this is going to become mandatory in 2026. So this is of course, having now a second child, not having redone our wills since we got married, like we got some work to do. I'm researching and we'll come up with a better presentation about this down the road. Anybody have anything else they want to say about succession planning? I'm going to pick on somebody. So, Yui, I know you're a solopreneur. What happens to your clients should you have an unplanned absence?
Honestly, I've been thinking about it deeply, and one of my greatest takeaway as well during the CPB is I think my heart was extremely open to collaboration, and like Kimi called it, finding your partners. That was the thing I still hold on to and still think about to date, and even with Michelle Cooper's session where she was talking about protecting you and some of those strategies that she talked about, including having an insurance policy that covers in which the business is the beneficiary and critical illness policies that covers the business and short-term needs. I was really blown away, but um I'm very I'm thinking about collaboration a lot. I think from the conference I realized that I want to really do this alone, having great partners to do that with and opening myself up to such accountability will even extend my ability to grow. So those are the things I'm still thinking about and working towards, and hopefully I will find those people that I can partner with.
Yeah, that's that's actually exactly what happened with Kelly Parks. So I don't know if anybody knows Mike Wittes, but her like succession plan is Mike Wittes. Should something happen to her, Mike knows where some of the information is. Her financial planner knows where some of the information is, and they need to work together to unlock that information so Mike can take care of the clients while the business continues, of course, compensated for that. And in the end, of course, sell the business for her inheritors. And that might be a very natural fit to sell to Mike. And they met at a CPB conference. That's where they first met together, and they just really jived. And yeah, all right, you queued me up here. Collaboration is more necessary than ever. You can't really collaborate with AI. AI gives you probabilistic answers. Most of the time they're right, but they aren't always. We did have a draft blog that advised clients to do illegal things that have not been legal since 2016. So obviously the AI just ingested a lot of information from prior and said the balance of probabilities is this, which is no longer allowed. So of course, that human eye is necessary. Really, I said this at the beginning, relationships is what separates a professional from a machine or an automation. Building those relationships together, and it's important to build them together, builds trust and a solving mentality with all people involved. Major organizations need to collaborate to ensure that they're meeting their goals. This was Jake, our CPA student. This was his biggest takeaway, and he was expressed a bit of frustration that there's no collaboration currently between CPA and CPB. And I know that's not for lack of CPB reaching out. So that's something that a handful of us behind the scenes are pushing on. And we'll see what happens with that. But hopefully CPA realizes this is an organization that they really need to collaborate with because they can really help each other. They can really do great things together. They're not your competition, they're your collaborative partner. Developing relationships with people who can help your business and who you can help. Like, absolutely. Like, I mean, that's exactly it. If anybody here hasn't taken Tanya's Bookkeepers Bootcamp, there's a wealth of information in there. My biggest feedback from taking her course was to tell people that there's a lot to look at and you need to set aside time to look at it. Otherwise, you could end up just doing a data dump and then never using it. And that's kind of defeats the purpose of going through the course. Now, that being said, those relationships aren't necessarily something you want to learn and do for yourself. So, for instance, we have a relationship with a tax specialist firm who does major restructurings, things like that. We have relationships with tax lawyers, different things like that. And of course, we have relationships with many bookkeepers. Learning other people's perspectives helps inform your decision-making process. It also helps create empathy and understanding and why things aren't happening. So, for instance, I've heard a lot of frustration from about accountants and the way accountants have treated bookkeepers historically. And I mean, frankly, I find it disgusting. But that's something that I think most accountants don't even have the pulse of. They have no idea that people view them in such a way. So I think the more we learn about each other, the more we collaborate and cooperate, the more those relationships can deepen and the more value you're able to bring to the table. You might learn something that's like, hey, have you thought about this? Or have you thought about that? Or, hey, you should ask so and so about this. These are some things that could really make things happen for us.
Did we lose Jonathan?
This a lot. What I really look for when the relationship is in the pillars that we're trying to
Woohoo!
create, but it's very long when I
I
know.
lost you there for a bit, Jonathan.
Oh, am I back?
You are, but we missed some of your talking.
Okay, so what I was saying was the last part, what I was saying was with bookkeepers, for me, if I know somebody has a niche, it's very easy to pass on a lead. I've talked to bookkeepers and said, "So what's your niche?" And they're like, "QuickBooks Online." It's like, we're at a QBO conference. We all know how to use QuickBooks Online. That is not a niche. Unless they are your only client, that is not a niche. But like, for instance, we get the occasional inquiry for a legal practices, small legal practices. We get inquiries for e-commerce from time to time. And knowing where those can have a good home is really important because you want the client. My goal is whoever gets in contact with CATA leaves better off. And that's really where we go from there. This was Neary's biggest takeaway, that a healthy team is a productive team. So, one of the things we do in our State of the Union after we review our mission, vision, and values is your priorities of care. And at the top of that list is always take care of yourself. Because if you're not healthy, if you're not well, the people who depend on you can't be taken care of. So, it's very important to take care of yourself first. Then you can take care of the clients, you can take care of the business, you can take care of your family. But if you're not well, that's going to be a big problem. Encourage unplugging. This is something I've had to coach my team on a lot. Turn off the notifications for Slack, turn off the notifications for email on your, maybe you have them come up, but silently on your phone. Definitely don't have them pop up on the screen in your when you're working on your computer, because when that happens, it distracts you. And they say, what was it? Just checking one email costs an average of 1 minute and 44 seconds. So if you get a pop-up and you quickly glance at that email, open it, that's 1 minute and 44 seconds gone. If you're in the middle of deep work, it could take you up to 20 minutes to get back into your flow of where you were. So I think really unplugging, turning off notifications is very important. As a completely remote team, we really encourage balance and community outside of work. We're not in the same office. A lot of traditional employment, you're in the office with the same people 40 hours a week. Those are really the people you spend more time with them than with your family. But in a remote work environment, it's very different, right? So it's important to have a community outside of work, be that cultural, family, something, in order to satisfy those Maslow's needs of hierarchy and keep balance in your life. Um, Apparently, automation is a new word I'm promoting here. Help keep stress down by implementing automation, ensuring you have written policies, processes, manuals, and watching capacity to avoid burnout. It's something that I've come close to doing to some team members because they keep putting their hand up and say, I can help with that, which is awesome. And you want that attitude. But you definitely don't want to burn those people out because they're your doers. Those are the people who are going to stand up and volunteer for things when they really need to be done. So the next one, this was from Candice. Candice is our teammate in the Philippines. She used to be very matter of fact in her business relationships and her communications with clients. So her biggest takeaways were avoid being transactional. Build relationships not only with your teammates, but also with your clients. So one thing that she found that she does from time to time is now that we're all on Google Voice, I'll still have Google Zoom phone, but everybody else on Google Voice. Um, she'll just give a call and just say, hey, so and so, I just wanted to see how things were going. We haven't chatted in a couple weeks, wondering how life is, kind of things. Those kind of things. Ask how people are doing. Because there's nothing worse than a client comes to you and they're upset about something because something else is going on in their life or something is going on in their business that you haven't been monitoring because it's outside of the scope of your engagement. So asking how people are doing on a regular basis, that's how I start every client meeting. I just say, how's it going? And everybody's like, oh, fine. It's like, no, like seriously, like what's going on? Like how are the kids back to school now? Like and get a little bit of that dialogue going on. It's important not to get too distracted by it and stay on point for your meeting, but it will help build a better relationship. Also, offer to help and learn from each other. So we did recently have a client come to us who's in a cash flow crunch. So we have offered, and this is a bit of self promotion as well. We've offered to bump him up to our highest level of service for the rest of the calendar year to help him get some of those receivables in to get him over this hump. So by doing that, now we're showing we care. We're not billing him for this right now. But next year, when it comes to renewal, like we're not doing this in January. When it comes to renewal next year, it's going to be like, so do you want us to continue doing this? Right? Those are some of the things that could result in even deeper relationships, more sticky clients. And if they like you, they're not going to leave you based on price. They're going to leave you based on something else, so some kind of outlying factor. Of course, all these things lead for smoother relationships, less chasing, and more proactive discussions. Chasing is always going to exist, in my opinion, but there are ways to kind of reduce it. And instead of sending people 100 keeper questions, you're sending them 10, things like that. Try to understand the other person's perspective and try to be understanding whenever you can. And most importantly, it is important to have these relationships, but it's very important to have clear expectations and boundaries and to have those outlined so that people can live up to those expectations and won't cross the line. Every now and again, I'm sure every one of us gets a phone call after hours. It's a client and they're freaking out about something. Sometimes it's something that it really does matter. You need to pick up that phone. Sometimes you see that phone ring and you're just like, "Oh, why are you calling me at 9:30 at night?" Right? It's okay to enforce that boundary. If it's important to leave a voicemail. If they ask, "Why didn't you answer my call last night?" It's like, "Because I was spending time with my family." That's the time I have to spend with my family. Enforce those boundaries. Tanya, you look like you want to chip in here.
I do. I do. So there's a few things with this. I do feel differently than some people about this.
About
Phone
what?
calls, absolutely. I completely agree. I do emails at night. I do not expect people to respond. So emails are okay. I know I have some people that are like, don't send an email or a message at all to a client. But sometimes that's just when we're working and I can't always schedule it to go out because, maybe I'm using an app that doesn't schedule it to go out. So, um, but if a client were to email me or phone call me, obviously a phone call they're expecting me to answer, not just, hey, sorry, I just wanted to leave this message while it was in my head, something like that. I would actually really, on top of making sure that you stick to those expectations and boundaries, one of the determinations as to whether we keep a client or not, or whether they're our ideal client, is how do we feel when we see their phone number show up or their email come in? So if we are like, oh, why are they calling at night? Maybe they don't respect your relationship. Maybe they're not a good client. Maybe it just happened to be, again, they're expecting to get voicemail, leave a message, whatever. But I would use those as flags as to really start looking at your relationship. And is it a relationship that you want to continue with an ideal one? Because some of those can turn into pitas, and we are not in the day and age these days where the client is always right or the customer is right. That is not the case. We are small business owners, folks, and we are right as to who we want to work with. It doesn't mean they're a bad person. Maybe they're not a right fit with us. Maybe they need somebody that can put those boundaries in a little bit more. Maybe they just need to be reminded of the boundaries and expectations. But if I, at any point from a phone message, an email, and anything, if I sigh or Sandra sighs, that's when we start to take a look. Is it our mood? Is it this? Is it that? Or is it the relationship? And is it time to let that client know, you know what, we're not a good fit anymore? There's somebody else out there who wants to say the client is always right and do everything for the client. No problem. That is not me. So
I'm just
just
going to
wanted to
be
share
honest.
those thoughts.
That attitude to me is not a professional. The key distinguishing factor between a professional and essentially a data entry clerk is professional judgment. If you're going to do whatever the client wants and you start writing off their Tim Hortons morning coffees, even though you know it's the wrong thing to do, that's not professionalism.
Absolutely. And so
That's
therefore, Are they ever going to respect us as a professional? Is that relationship ever going to change that we have that, right? The bookkeepers on the calls understand that more than those who've taken the accountant track because we do not, from the majority of the people, out there, we're again data entry. It's our job to do what they tell us to do. No, it's not. You're absolutely right there, Jonathan. That does not make us a professional, and we are professionals. So, yes, thank you.
All right. This one was from Amna. Our Amna was the 2024 Emerging Leader of the Year. So proud of her. Automation is not a replacement for the human relationship. That was her first takeaway about automation being here to stay. It will make your life easier to eliminate boring and repetitive tasks, create time for you to focus on more important things, and you can even use automation to chase clients. So we have a little bit of that built into our systems, both on the tax side and on the bookkeeping side. Every Friday, clients know they're going to get their keeper questions. They need to answer them by the following Friday, or they're getting those questions again. And those questions build up and they get scary. And the next thing you know, you have 300 questions outstanding. Well, hopefully, we're not having that happen. The relationship between can be built better. There can be a deeper understanding of things. And, you can make sure that the time you're spending with that person is productive and not just answering questions, right? Like uploading documents, things like that. However, when you are, I'm sure you've heard this a million times, if you're using an AI, be sure to consider confidentiality and security. That is also true of other automations and the type of data that you're feeding it. I know a colleague of ours got in a bit of trouble for creating a robotic process automation that went on to the CRA and downloaded the RT, RC, and RP account transactions every month. And you're not allowed to do that. So you got to be careful how you're handling those and just understand what's appropriate.
And
I, sorry.
sorry, I just wanted to add to this. Well, I talked about AI yesterday, actually at my small business networking meeting, and the massage therapist, funnily enough, is a bit of an AI geek. So yeah, we kind of geeked out on this, and he had actually let me know that there was, a 48-hour period where Chat GPT, even those of us who had turned off not to share, it went out and was all of our information was accessible to everybody. They found it, they turned it off. However, what happened in that 48 hours is that they've never been able to clarify to his satisfaction, is that information still out there? Was it still used to do training in the meantime? So even if you're saying that, be very, very careful and aware that, hey, sometimes stuff happens.
Yeah. And that, I mean, for me, the scary part about all our cloud technology is the app partners. It's like we can have all the security we want in the world, but for instance, our firm, we're relying on Google to maintain their security. Now, Google has a very, very good track record. So do most of the big players. But if you start digging into it, you'll find stuff. You'll find there being problems with everybody, right? QuickBooks is another one that scares me to a degree, but not so much the front end and being able to see what's in their system, but the back end, seeing those things like credit card numbers and things like that. And there's nothing we can do about that. Rando, I saw a great little 12-minute video I watched last night about the differences between the internet, the deep web, and the dark web. And it was very interesting to know that, like, we actually spend a lot of time on the deep web, but we don't even know about it. That's all the stuff that's behind the scenes. Those credit card numbers stored by Intuit, those, our bank account information, things like that. Anyway, little tangent there. Another thing to keep, of course, learn from each other about automations, what works, what doesn't. We used to be jump on every new shiny object. We do not do that anymore. We want to use proven technologies because years ago I was told that Shopify integrated with Zero. I made the integration, it double booked everything. I had 16,000 transactions that need to be manually backed out. Zero support was amazing and they connected me. Now I did have to do a call a video call at like 1 o'clock in the morning with New Zealand, but the guy wrote me a script, got it to me, and he's like, just run this on your second laptop until all those transactions are out. It'll crash from time to time, just restart it and it'll be fine. But I mean, that laptop had to work for almost 2 days just to remove those transactions from a bad integration. Also learn from your clients. Float, the idea of float was first brought to us by a client. We learn about automations and we learn about other products that are available from our clients all the time. Prioritize what you're looking for, what your clients can value, and investigate those things. Don't jump on every new shiny object or you can get pulled in way too many directions. So my biggest takeaway, and it was a huge good feel good moment for me, was that human centric leadership is taking root. That's what I presented about at the conference. Um, I love that our team is leading the policies, processes, and manual development. I love that our team is healthy and collaborative. Well, I really want to focus on ways to help our team with the things that are external to the work environment because that has impacted our team negatively from a mental health perspective during the pandemic. And I think that's something that having additional support and community within the company may have helped that individual with. We'll see what happens. I also love that automation and app investigation is being led by the team. We do have a bit of an approval process before we start using it. We always, slow to hire, quick to fire. But that I love that they're doing that. For instance, we had a call this morning with PayEvo, considering their growth plan for some of our smaller clients. The team is on board, so they're going to shift 3 clients over to PayEvo. Sorry, Bianca, if you're watching this. The team is aligned on our mission, vision, and values. And I think during the hiring process, the most important thing is to make sure that the values are aligned. If somebody's looking for money, they're going to leave you the minute they get offered more money. If somebody's looking for vacation time or time off, that's going to be their primary motivation. If somebody's just looking for a paycheck, they're not really going to be invested in developing the business at all.
You know,
My biggest huge thing was that the team is now building the business. I'm not in it alone.
well, and I just want to add to that. Sandra is a perfect example of this. I've built a culture, and sorry guys, I'm just kind of moving stuff around in the meantime because we're leaving right after. But I built a culture that I wanted people, so a little bit of a reverse discrimination, yes, is that I wanted mothers who would appreciate a better work-life balance. So in comes Sandra. We meet her. She has been offered a real, true offer that we're pretty sure of at least once, and many, many joking offers of people within the industry to try to take her away. You know what? As far as I look at it, if there's something I'm not offering her, she's going to leave. So I don't, don't begrudge anybody for any of that stuff. However, she left a corporate environment that was, that didn't understand when your children were sick. And that was one of the things that I talked about, in the interview. I don't want her coming in here when her child is sick. She, when she's got the training, we weren't remote at that point. You can work from home, the hours that you want. We were very flexible with that because I said, first off, I don't want to be sick. Second off, take care of your children. I don't want you driving in bad weather to get here. So that type of culture, I believe, and Sandra can pop on and answer this too, but I believe, yes, that has made her. She is a lifer. I feel very comfortable with that. Again, if that changes, there's obviously, something for that, but I believe that that has made her much more invested. And Sandra, do you have anything to add on that? Because we're the only people on this call that have that team dynamic here.
Yeah, I think
And
like
be honest, your raise is not depending on this.
Yeah, I would say that yeah, for sure. Like having that was important when I had moved out here because I came from, the city and stuff like that. And when I moved out here, I didn't have family. So it was important for me to be able to spend that time with Rachel or be able to have that time off. And Tanya did offer that to me. And over the years, like, yeah, I have grown with her. I've grown with her business and coming into this not having a bookkeeping background, it was also important to me to also go through the lines and get my CPB and be committed to what I was actually doing. And I'm so glad that I did.
Yeah, but it creates the loyalty. That's the thing that I really want to push and hone in. So everything Jonathan said, you've heard it from the, I won't call her a horse because she's close enough to hit me, but you've heard it from the Sandra's mouth.
I imagine seeing a little one of those squish balls flying over the thing, the side of your head in a moment, Tanya. All right. Well, we're almost at time, so let's get our CPD. What's your biggest takeaway from any conference so far this year? We can't keep those around because James eats them, and it's not okay.
Oh, I went to check my showcase at Van City to change up a couple things for this last week that I'm there. And there was a bite mark out of my little yellow one that was sitting there. And I was like, it's on the top shelf. It's stuck with tape. Did somebody try and grab it or did somebody give it to their kid and the kid bit it?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
Like, ooh, that one's going in the garbage afterwards.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna count down, make sure you voted. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We'll end the poll and share the results.
I realize, oh, I love this spread out here. I love this spread. It's like all over the place. Um, I feel like I actually missed out on the opportunity to have an other on this poll. Because there could be something else. There could be like, I mean, we don't necessarily want an echo chamber. So does anybody else have any other big takeaways from any other conferences?
I think one I will advise or recommend that we go back to, it was the ethics one, the one by the partner from MNP.
Oh,
And
I really wanted to go to that session, but I was unable to attend.
you
Hopefully it was
should
recorded because the
go
recordings will be
back
up in a couple of
and
weeks.
yes. Yes, you should go back and watch it and how ethics impacts us. And one thing that stuck out from the session was his warning on how we take on clients. He shared a story about delivering a session, and someone came to the mic and requested to speak and was actually advising people to pay attention to the kind of people they work with, the kind of jobs they take on. And what was so ironic was even while during the one of the break sessions, I was listening to another bookkeeper who shared her experience with a near miss where the prior accountant or bookkeeper was killed because the people they were attempting to work with were really shady. So the ethics section was really great. Another section that stood out to me as well was the bookkeeping and the tax section. That was really amazing, and how to um, collaborate even as bookkeepers, whether we interact with the accountants or not, but being so tax aware that we're framing, the chart of accounts and every other thing so that the parties we work with, that line of action from the accountants to the controllers or the CFO, they can find great value in the reports. So that session was really great. Is a must rewatch.
Okay. So that was bookkeeping for tax and the ethics
Yes,
section. Yeah, that
yes,
was on my
bookkeeping.
radar. It's like Richard Arthur's, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. That
I'm
was
glad
great.
that was recorded because I really regretted missing that one.
Yeah, I'm taking my CFE exams, which is certified fraud examiner exams, and so I found such great value with that. The experience was amazing, and I'm really glad the CPB is incorporating that in our trainings as well, because it's really important that we ensure that we're picking clients that are quality because it can really impact our lives, our businesses, and even our families.
Absolutely. absolutely. I've been approached, especially when I was speaking. Now I've stopped speaking about crypto, but I got approached by so many people. It's like, so I have this situation with the client. It's like, it sounds like you're working for a drug cartel or human traffickers or something. Like, do you not have any questions or know your client things that you walk through? Like, yeah, I've heard some things. And then I've also seen on the other side the accountants who will they don't have any ethics, and it blows me away. Stuff like writing off, Ferrari's advertising expense and stuff like that. Anyway, I thought this quote was really appropriate for today. Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. So that's really what we're going for. So I'm going to skip over this stuff. And then, yeah. Does anybody else have anything else they'd like to talk about or any situations have come up? Yeah, Lynn.
No questions right now, Jonathan, but I have to give a shout out to Karen. Last year when I struggled with the e-commerce and the merchant accounts not being reconciled on the client I took over, Karen helped me exponentially. And it wasn't that she solved the problem for me, but after the second session her and I did, she made a comment that made me go back and take a look at what I was doing. And I was able to figure out what was wrong and reconcile those accounts. So it's
That's awesome.
what I
Thank you.
learned from all the conferences that I go to is not so much about the learning, but learning about my colleagues and where they have strengths that factor for my weaknesses, and maybe I have strengths that go for their weaknesses. And those collaborations have been immensely beneficial over the years.
Hugely beneficial because every time we collaborate on anything,
Yeah.
we learn from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thank you.
You're most welcome.
Well, and that's what I like best at conferences is sitting down, excuse me, and getting to know people, having those discussions. I actually went to a session and it's funny. I can't remember who it was, but I'm on my way out and she's like, Tanya, you attend a session that you're not speaking at? And I'm like, I know it's rare, and that's the reason why. It's not that I don't appreciate when I get home and everything's available online. I'm watching it like crazy, but I get so much more out of sitting down and talking to people. Just we talk about processes, we share information back and forth, conversations get there. And some of the most important things that I've learned and I'm just going to drop this one bomb that I learned from sitting down talking to Jennifer, and I can't remember her last name, but she's the one that used to work with Jennifer Klein from BC. That's it. And I know I've shared this with some people those who have listened anyway, is that the clients that, or sorry, the businesses that are in the US that are registered under the digital GST HST, there is a special search bar that we need to search. So if they have HST on there, we need to first off make sure. So if they've got the HST number and they're charging us, we need to make sure that their registration has been updated to a 99 or so the R whatever, it's a 99, I think, at the end. There's a special update and there's a special link for that. And we need to be double checking because if they're not registered there, they should not be charging us. If they are registered there, we give them our HST number and they don't charge us because it just pushes right through. And the reason being why CRA has that is because when they do that under the Digital Act, when they file, they don't have an inputs and the inputs to take off the input tax credits like we have. So they essentially only pay a small percentage. So therefore, if that's on our client's bill and they've truly paid it, it is actually ineligible for any ITCs. And so that was one thing I was like, what? Really? Like this and that. And that was, I picked that up and I knew about 80% of it. But I still learned 20% that's impacted our processes and impacted things. So, just if you didn't know that, look it up. That's a whole other conversation. But yes, if they are in the US, like again, Google, GoDaddy, any of that, if they've got a Canadian registered, they could be registered under Canada regular RT. We even have apps in our industry that have not updated their invoice, and their invoice says they are RT registered, and they are not RT registered. They are actually over the digital. So therefore, if we look at that and we go just by the paper receipt, oh, we should be able to claim them by the ITCs. But again, the onus is on the business owner to make sure it's checked. So there's a whole bunch of other stuff. But I did not learn that from one of the 20 HST sessions I've been at. I learned that from sitting down having a 3-hour conversation. We missed 3 sessions discussing that. And that was one of the big things that I picked up from that conversation. So don't be in a rush to get off to sessions. You can watch out. There's going to be another session somewhere on that, or you're going to be able to find it online or get details from it. If you are having a good conversation and learning, just stay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jennifer.
real
Um,
world situation conversations are the best.